Hi there everyone and welcome to the channel, to this 500-point narrative game of Ultramarines versus Hive Fleet Kraken Tyranids. In this narrative game, we're going to be seeing Ultramarines of the 2nd Company trying to make their last stand against incoming waves of Tyranids of Hive Fleet Kraken. The Ultramarines are going to be centered around this central objective in the dead center of the table, while the Tyranids will be advancing from all fronts around them. At the end of this 5-turn game, the winner will be the Ultramarines if they have any models left standing, or the Tyranids of Hive Fleet Kraken if they are able to eliminate the entire Ultramarines army. Other than that, narrative mission rules apply, and everything on the table for terrain will be obscuring ruined terrains if it is at least 5 inches tall, such as the ruins over here on the far side of the table, and barricades here in the center surrounding the objective that demarks where the infantrymen of the Ultramarines will be focused around. Going on to army lists, trying to hold off the impending Tyranid invasion and see if they can make their last stand heroically or whether they're just going to end up as bug food, is this 500-point army list of Ultramarines as a patrol, so 1 HQ, 2 troops. So our one and only HQ for the Ultramarines is going to be this Primaris Captain, with the bolt rifle and a mastercrafted power sword. That's going to be upgraded to the Burning Blade, and his warlord trait is going to be the Imperium sword, so he's going to be decked out for close combat. Backing him up are 2 identical squads of 5-man intercessors, standard bolt rifles. 2 with the bare heads will be the squad leaders. Then we've got 1 elite choice and 1 fast attack. In elites, we've got a 3-man aggressor squad with the bolt gauntlets, and then to hopefully try to take out what heavier targets the bugs bring is a Primaris Invader ATV, with the rifles in front and a multi-melta on the turret handled by the guy in the back. So, pretty low model count army, but with that, those are the Ultramarines who are going to be trying to survive the incoming waves of bugs. So next up, the Tyranid army list. And the Kraken Tyranids list is as follows. In the HQ slots, we have a Neurothrope. Neurothrope is going to be my warlord today for the Tyranids. He's going to have the psychic powers as shown. He's going to have the classic smite, catalyst, and synaptic lure, as we are going to be playing Kraken, so figured I might as well take their special psychic power. He has the warlord trait for the army, so that is direct guidance. So I'm going to be keeping these wooden dice next to him and my other character to try to remind me of the command phase abilities that I need to hand out. So that's a add 1 to attack hit rolls whenever they make an attack for 1 core unit within synaptic link range. So he's going to probably throw that either on the Termagants or the Warriors. Then moving on to my other character, I've got a Tyranid Prime with Lash Whip, Bone Sword, and a Death Spitter. I had to check what his ranged weapon was that I gave him. So everything should be what you see is what you get, WYSIWYG. So, those are going to be my main Hive Mind character units. And going into troops, we've got a 3-man unit that are going to hang around with the Prime, with Lash Whip, Bone Swords, and a Venom Cannon on one of them. The ones that do not have the Venom Cannon will have Scything Talons as well, tucked underneath Lash Whip, Bone Swords. Then moving on to same troops choice, just a 10-man Gaunt squad with Devourers. Then we've got some fast attack to try to get in there quick, being a Hive Fleet Kraken. So we've got a 3-man or 3 bug squad of Raveners that might start underground, and then a 3 base unit of Ripper Swarms to, again, maybe start the game underground or maybe just clog them up and take some Overwatch and cheap shots in the Vanguard before the heavier hitters can get in there. Here we have the Ultramarines all set up and staged inside of their protective barricade around the center point of the battlefield. So most of them snug within the barricades, the ATV and the aggressor squad outside looking around, trying to get a sense of where the bugs are going to start coming from. So the bugs in this narrative game will have 2 deployments, 6 inches up from this side of the battlefield and 6 inches up from the other side of the battlefield right here. So it'll basically be a pincer attack with the tin cans of the blueberry Ultramarines in the middle for the bugs to try to crack open. And here's what we have the battlefield looking like after fully deployed. Over on this flank, we have the Warriors and the Prime behind them up on this building to provide them with some cover in case the Ultramarines end up going first. So on that flank, this side didn't have as much cover, so way over here, kind of tucked away in a corner, as far out of sight as possible, we have the 3-man Ravener squad ready to pounce. Probably going to go into either the ATV or maybe start to try to pounce on the intercessors depending on their advances and their move. Then coming over here with a little bit more cover, we've got the 3 base Ripper Swarm coming in on one flank. Then the Termagants and the Neurothrope floating behind them. And I made sure that the drop down of this big building was not covering them, so they are not in the building, so that the Ultramarines cannot go bug hunting too quickly if they get the first shot. Now it's time for the roll-off, so we'll just do this matched play style. So whoever rolls highest must go first. We're going to have a blue die for the Ultramarines and a black die for Hive Fleet Kraken. So let's see who gets the first shot in this 500-point narrative game. And not impressive rules, but it looks like the Hive Mind does beat out the Ultramarines training just a little bit. So when I get back, it'll be Tyranids turn 1. At the start of Battle Round 1, just a few housekeeping things for Hive Fleet Kraken. This was filmed after the balanced data sheet came out, so we are no longer allowed to switch out the adaptive part of our Hive Fleet rules before the game. So we're just going to stick with the regular adaptive trait of the D3 plus 3 inches to our advances. Then obviously we're stuck into the main Hive Fleet adaptation. We're also going to go with our synaptic imperative of the Tyranid Prime. So 6 inches of synapse around the Prime, Warriors, and Neurothrope. That'll be exploding 6s to hit on shooting. So that'll probably mainly focus for the Venom Cannon on the Warriors, as well as the guns over here on the Gaunts. So, in our command phase, the Warlord trait buff is going to go from the Neurothrope on to the Gaunts. And the Neurothrope is going to throw his psychic buff onto himself for 3d6 to cast. And the Tyranid Prime will buff the warriors over on the other side of the battlefield with his command phase ability. Through that, we're ready to go on to the movement phase. So we will come back after advances and moves have been completed. And the battlefield looks like this at the end of the movement phase, turn 1 for Hive Fleet Kraken. We've got the Neurothrope bringing up the rear on this flank, right behind his Termagants with the +1 to hit buff from the Warlord trait. Then the Ripper Swarms got a 3 on their D3 +3 advance, so they have advanced right up in the faces of the aggressors. Termagants also advanced, they only got a 1, so they're a little bit further behind. Over with the slightly heftier bioorganisms, the Raveners did not advance, so they'll need a decent charge, probably a 3 or a 4 to get into the ATV, but that should be hopefully an easy charge for them to make. And then over here, we just shuffled with the warrior type organisms. This guy with the venom cannon did not move. The other two just shuffled down a little bit, trying to keep the one heavy gun that we have stationary. And then the Tyranid Prime also just moved a little bit, staying in cover, but towing into the ruin and behind his warrior companions to make sure that he cannot get shot. So with that, we are all ready to move on to the psychic phase for the Tyranids. First up for the psychic phase, the Neurothrope is going to try to get Synaptic Lure, so 3d6 dropping the lowest from putting his command phase buff on himself. So that's a 2, a 3, and a 6, so I'll get rid of the 2. That leaves us with a 9, so that'll get Synaptic Lure right over here on the ATV, so basically making that charge from the Raveners a guaranteed thing. Then we will go with Catalyst next. So again, 3d6, drop the lowest. That's going to be a 3, a 4, and a 5. So again, on a 9, that'll get Catalyst off handily. And we're just going to put those on the Gaunts so that they can survive a little bit better against the counterfire of the Ultramarines in their turn 1. And with that, we go through the psych phase into the shooting phase. We're going to start off with the Tyranid Warriors firing the Venom Cannon over here into the ATV. That's going to be D3 for our number of shots. That's going to be a 3 on the shots. The model with the Venom Cannon did not move. So that's going to be the 3s to hit. Then no 6s for the additional hit from the Synaptic Imperative, so we're just going to have 2 hits and a miss. Then Strength 8 against Toughness 5 on the ATV, so needing 3s to wound. That'll be a 1 and a 2. So that is probably my highest value shot from the Tyranids, so I'm going to use one of my command points for the Tyranids to bring them down to 3, and then re-roll that. Then that will be a 5, and now remembering that the Prime put his command ability of re-roll 1s to wound on them. So we'll say that it was the 2 that I command re-rolled. Alright, and then that'll get both of those as successful wounds against the ATV. So AP3 going down to AP2 because of Armor of Contempt. And we're going to go down to AP-2, so needing 5 ups for the ATV. Make 1 fail one, so that's going to be 2 damage going through. Now the Termagants firing into the Bolt Storm aggressors. That's going to be Strength 5 versus D5, so no sense in transhuman physiology. The Gaunts did advance, so that +1 is going to counteract the -1 from advancing, and then getting that +1 again from the Warlord trait of the Neurothrope. So it's going to be 10 Devourer shots going from the Gaunts into the aggressors, hitting on 4s, and any 6s to hit will explode. We ended up getting 3 misses and 3 6s that exploded into an additional hit. So that's essentially going to work out to be 100% efficiency. So again, Strength 5 versus Toughness 5. So wounding on 4s. So taking all those failures out. -1 AP goes down to 0 AP because of Armor Contempt. So 3 up saves on the aggressors. So 2 failed. I'll bring one of them down to 1 wound. Seeing that we've got 1 aggressor left on 1 wound, I'm going to take aim with the Tyranid Prime into the aggressors, try to peel off that last guy on 1 wound with the Death Spitter. So, hitting on 2s from the Prime, and that'll be 1 miss, and used my command reroll already. So then we'll go to wounds, 5 on 5, so needing 4s. Alright, 1 makes it, 1 fails it. That'll be 1 at AP -2, going down to AP -1. So 4 up, or we get one of the aggressors. And that's a 4 up, so at the end of the shooting phase, we have a damaged aggressor, but that's going to be everybody. We're in the charge phase now, so the Raveners are going to be going into the ATV. Measured out, they're 3 inches, so anything but a double 1 with the Synaptic Lure reroll is going to get them in. However, the Ultramarines came prepared, and they are making their last stand. So it's going to cost us all 3 of our CP right now, but we're going to do defensive focus, so we're going to get to pick 3 other friendly Ultramarine units that are within 6 inches. To also fire Overwatch at the Raveners. That's going to end up being the ATV, the captain, and both squads of intercessors firing into the Raveners. So we will probably come back with the results of that Overwatch. At the other end of Overwatch, we did get 1 of the Raveners completely peeled away. The other 2 are still at full wounds. So it was the intercessors and the captain that did all the heavy lifting for Overwatch. So now we go into the assault phase, as there is no more charges to declare because all the little Griblies over here advanced. And Catalyst does not help me advance and charge. So we're going to go right into Raveners into the ATV. Now in the fight phase, we're going to start with the Raveners. They're going to use their Rending Claws, 10 attacks into the ATV, hitting on 3s, wounding on 3s. So we got 5 wounds at -4, goes to -3 AP with Armor of Contempt. So can't kill it, but needing 6 ups to save. That's going to be 5 down on the ATV. That's going to take him down to 1 whole wound remaining. So it looks like the supported overfire of the Ultramarines was successful in keeping the ATV alive. Now the ATV is going to strike back. So 5 attacks from the ATV because of Shock Assault. Hitting on 3s. That's a full house of hits. And that's going to be Strength 4 versus Toughness 5, so 5s, no AP to wound. So, nothing there, but 1 on a 4-up save. Alright, so he does hit the Ravener and take 1 wound off. So we're now in Ultramarines turn 1. They were able to survive with no casualties from the first wave of the Tyranids, but not Intercessor, aggressor is on 1 wound, as is the ATV. So we're going to go right through the command phase, nothing to do there, no psychers, right into the movement phase. Our ATV is just going to use its 14-inch move to skedaddle. Going to use its almost dead body to body block the warrior organisms right over here. And then filling in the gap, the Burning Blade wielding Blade of the Imperium Primaris Captain. You're going to con out to hopefully mop up those big bugs in the front. Other than that, looks like the rest of the Marines are good to remain stationary, use their Ultramarine Super Doctrine to get out a lot more shots. So it's probably going to be a lot less bugs over on this wing, and maybe even no bugs over on this side of the battlefield by end of the turn. Going into the shooting phase, we're going to start with the ATV over here, aiming all of its shots into the warriors. So blue dice are going to be the rifles, and then the 2 black dice are going to be the multi-melta. So multi-melta is going to be hitting on 4s, everything else is going to be hitting on 3s because it moved and heavy. So that's going to be a miss here, then a fair number of misses here on the rifles, then wounding the big bugs. That'll be a failed wound on the multi-melta, and I think the CP is going to be better spent somewhere else, so we will let that through. That's going to be 6. Yep, it's going to be 2 wounds on the warriors in cover. All right, 1 pass, and then for cover. And that too is going to be a fail. I did say that I was taking it on a bug in cover, forgetting the only bug in cover is the one with the venom cannon, but that's what I said, and I'll stick to it. Got to keep myself honest, so we'll have 1 warrior from the ATV down to 2 wounds. Then we're going to go down here to the aggressors. The aggressors are going to fire their weapons into the termagants. With blast, it ended up being 13 hits from the grenade launchers into the gaunts. Then add that into the bolt storm gauntlets. We're looking at this many to hit. Unfortunately, the captain is just out of range for his 6-inch reroll ones to hit. That's going to end up being 15 hits of strength 4 versus the gaunt's toughness of 3, so needing 3s. Everything below a 3 looks like, hold on, we only got 1 failed wound. So those are all assault weapons, and it is the Devastator Doctrine right now. So we're just going to go 5s and 5s. So, boom, 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 boom. Ooh, uh-oh. Looks like the bugs might resist the attempt to squash him. So that's another 5. And Catalyst, 5 up, ignore. Ooh, alright, that is going to end up being only 2 gaunts down from a whole squad of aggressors. That is a pretty poor start to the shooting phase for the Ultramarines. Let's see if the Intercessors can do any better. This will be the first Intercessor squad, so this over on the left side of the battlefield, firing into the termagants. So 3s, and this time we are going to be re-rolling 1s from the Captain's Aura. That's going to get us 2 re-rolls. That's going to fish us out 2 more hits. Then on 3s to wound. Ooh, another bad show. But this will at least be a -1, so we need 6s for armor on the gaunts. Makes 1, and then 5 up catalyst save. Makes another 1, so again, only 2 down. So that will be 6 remaining. Alright, and then the second squad of intercessors are just going to turn and continue firing into the Termagants, trying desperately to pick up a unit at the very least. So that's going to be a full round, full house for hits at least. So let's see if we can do any better on wounding. We do a lot better on wounding with this last squad. That'll be 6s and then 5s for the Termagants to try to survive. Alright, it looks like we finally have maybe enough to get them out. Ooh, so that's 3 more done. It's going to be 3 of them gone, but that catalyst did keep them alive. So, at the end of the shooting phase, we've got 7 Termagants dead from this squad, but that's not going to be a problem because of Catalyst. Still got a full unit of Rippers right in the faces of the aggressors. Captain's going to be ready to charge in, but we can do his shots as well. Then the ATV fell back over here towards the guard, or towards the warriors. And just did the captain's rifle into the Raveners real quick. He got a wound through, so that's going to bring one of them down to only 1 wound. And we're going to start the charge phase right over here with the captain. So pretty much an automatic thing. So that's 3 is even going to get him in. Now we're going to have the aggressors start trying to mop up these Ripper swarms. And with an 8, that's definitely going to get them in. So they're just going to advance like so, or charge like so, to get base contact with all of them. After the charge with the Imperium Sword and the Burning Blade combination on the Primaris Captain over here, we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yep, 7 attacks on 2s. Alright, full round of hits. And then strength 8 versus toughness 5, so 3s to wound. Alright, and I think here is where we will try to use a CP reroll. That's going to get us another wound, but that's going to bring us down to no CP for the Ultramarines. And with the Burning Blade, that's going to be AP -5, so 2 damage, 2, 4, 6 damage. That's going to get the Raveners out of here. Then the captain will pile back in like so. Now the aggressors into the Ripper swarms, hitting on 4s from the -1 of their fists. Reroll 1 range is not going to do it, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4 hits only. Oh my god, look at those 3s. That's what we call bad luck Joe. And with strength 8 versus toughness 3, 2s to go through their 6-up save. That 1 isn't going to do it. That's going to be 2, 4, a base, and a half dead. So 1.5 bases dead for the Rippers. We're going to be able to go into the aggressors. Went through the Rippers' attacks off camera because thinking they weren't actually going to be able to do anything, but they were able to get exactly 1 wound through, and the aggressor failed to save. So that 1 wound aggressor is going to be the first Ultramarine casualty of the game. So overall, a pretty good rebuttal from the Ultramarines, but there are still a couple of good units, mainly over here with the warrior organisms in this back corner. So let's see what we can do in turn 2. In turn 2 for the Tyranids, the buffs handed out exactly the same, so +1 to hit from the Neurothrope's Warlord trait over here on the Termagants. Neurothrope's going to give himself the 3d6, drop the lowest on Psychic yet again, and then over here the Warriors got reroll 1s to Wound. Our Psychic Imperative is going to come from the Neurothrope, and essentially just benefit him. That's going to be +1 to Psychic tests, add 1 to Deny the Witch, which isn't going to be an issue. And if any mortal wounds start coming out, that's going to be a 5-up, feel no pain on mortal wounds. A little bit of fiddly movement in the Tyranids' turn, trying to maximize everything that they can. So nobody advanced using the Kraken-specific trait, but we did have the Neurothrope end up right over here behind the Termagants, with the aggressors being the closest unit for smiting. And then over here, the warrior organisms had to kind of get fancy with their movement, so trying to go around the ATV as much as possible. So that did slow them down. Looks like a 7-inch charge if they're going to make it into this 5-man blob of intercessors. So that's through the movement phase, and then we're going to go right into the psychic phase. We're going to start with Smite from the Neurothrope going into the aggressors, hoping for a big smite so that we can start clearing out bases of them. And that is going to be a 5-5-5. That's going to be a 10-11 with the psychic test. That's going to be big smite, so D6 mortal wounds on the aggressors here. And then only 2 mortal wounds on the aggressors, unfortunately. Continuing the psychic phase for the Neurothrope after leaving 1 aggressor on 1 wound with the 2 from the big smite. He's going to attempt to cast Synaptic Lure, needing a 5, but need at least a 4. So it does not drop the lowest, it's drop one of your choice. At least that is how I currently understand it. So that's a 7-8. That gets off Synaptic Lure with no perils of the warp. So he's going to try to help out the warriors get to reroll their charge into this intercessor squad. Going into the shooting phase, these 3 remaining Termagants are going to fire their weapons into this intercessor squad right behind the barricades over here. That's going to be hitting on 3s because of the Warlord trait +1 to hit. And that'll give us an extra hit. Strength 4, toughness 4, so needing 4s. A 1 and a 3, so that's not going to be anything from the Gaunts. Warrior Venom Cannon is going to move on, firing into the ATV. So D3 number of shots. 2 shots. That's a 2 and a 6. Then Strength 8, Toughness 5, so needing a 3, re-rolling 1s from the command protocol of the Prime. So that's a wound at -3. Goes to -2 because of armor of contempt. Then that brings us to a 5-up or dead for the ATV. That is a dead ATV. No command points to re-roll. So on a 6, does it blow? That's a 1, so it does not blow. That is the heaviest shooting weapon gone for the Marines. And this avenue cleared up a lot for the warriors into the main block of Ultramarines. Death Spitter from the Prime now is going to go into the further squad of intercessors to make sure that I don't pull myself out of a nice and easy 7-inch rerollable charge. So, on 2s from the Prime. That's not what we like to see. And then the Death Spitter is Strength 5, Toughness 4, so needing a 3. And that's also not going to do it. We are on 4 CP though, and we're at the end of the shooting phase, so we'll try and get a reroll there. So that's 1. -2 AP goes to -1, so needing a 4-up save. Nope, but that's only 1 damage, so 1 Intercessor will be wounded, and then we go into the charging phase. So we're going to go with the Tyranid warriors into this 5-man Intercessor squad with reroll thanks to Synaptic Lure. No command points for the Ultramarines, so no Overwatch to worry about. So needing a 7 rerollable. And a 6. That's close but no cigar. And a 7. Alright, and with a 9 we will make it in. So the Intercessors are gonna hopefully get whipped by the Tyranid warriors. On the Chargers, on the Tyranid side, we only have the warriors, so they will pile in, get the last guy right in to make sure that he's able to attack. They are all armed with Lash Whip Bone Swords, so just to keep it easy, all 3 of them are going to use the Bone Sword attacks into the Intercessors. So it's going to be 3s, re-rolling a hit roll of a 1, thanks to the Lash Whip. So, since it says a hit roll of 1, I'm going to assume that means that each can only re-roll 1 miss, so I'll do these 3 at a time, just to be safe. So, re-roll that 1, then 3 more, re-roll a 1, then last one, re-rolls a 1 into that. So, that'll be 8 hits out of 9 attacks. Strength 7, toughness 4, so 3s, rerolling 1s from the synaptic, or not imperative, the command phase ability of the Prime. So that'll end up with 6 wounds at -2, goes to -1 from Armor of Contempt, so 4 up, 2 damage each. And that is a good result for the Ultramarine, so only 1 failure. So 1 Ultramarine goes down, and then it will be their time to strike back. Hitting back from the Intercessors into the Warriors with Shock Assault. And only 1 reroll to 1, or reroll to do, thanks to the Captain being in range. And that's going to be Strength 4 into Toughness 5, so needing 5s. No AP, but we get 1, 2, 3, 4. So this will be on the Warriors 4-up save. So 2 go through. That will be enough at least to take 1 down. And they might be out of range of the Prime with, yep, so that's out of the 6-inch Fearless Synapse. So with 1 left, oh wait, they are Synapse themselves, so they will be fine for morale. Going to the ongoing combats, it is the Ultramarine turn, so the Rippers in this combat will get to swing first. This is going to be on 5s with 8 attacks, getting only 2, and a 5 and a 3, so Strength 3 and Toughness 5, so 1 at no AP. And that makes it with a 5. So that will be the aggressors punching back. Aggressors on 4s into the swarms. And not a lot of hits. But Strength 8 versus Toughness 3, so needing 2s. 2 go through, gets past their 6-up save, and that's 2 damage apiece. So I'll take him down, and then take 1 base down to 2 wounds remaining. With that, we're going to go from Tyranids turn 2 into Ultramarines turn 2. So probably a lot of use of their fallback and shoot as the number of bugs continues to quickly diminish across the battlefield. In turn 2 for the Ultramarines, the aggressors started us back by falling away from the Ripper Swarm, so they are now danger close to the Warlord Neurothrope. And this 4-man squad now of intercessors also fell back from the warriors, who are about to get charged with the Burning Blade of the Imperium Primaris Captain, so that will hopefully take them out. Then the full 5-man squad of intercessors stood stock still to continue pounding away and hopefully take some bugs out. To start us off with the shooting phase, the 4-man infantry squad that fell back are going to be rapid firing their bolt rifles right into this lone remaining Ripper Swarm. This is going to be hitting on 4s from the -1 to fall back, rerolling 1 since the captain's looking over their shoulder. So we got 1, 2, 3 1s to reroll and a couple of 2s that aren't going to miss, or a couple of 3s that aren't going to hit. So we've got 4 strength 4 wounding on 3s. Then with the additional AP from the Tactical Doctrine, that will definitely take the last Ripper Swarm out. Now the 5-man are going to try to repeat that disappearing trick on the 3-bug Termagant squad right over here. There's going to be 3s, rerolling 1s with an additional AP from Tactical Doctrine. So those 1s did not reroll into anything. Now we're going to be looking on 3s to kill. So at least 3 3-ups, and we remove the Termagants. So with that, the aggressors are going to be able to fully unload into the Neurothrope. Got 5 hits from the grenade launchers on top of the aggressors. So we're going to go into the Neurothrope. Hitting on 4s, no rerolls as the captain is too far away. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hits. And this is all strength 4 VT5, so needing 5s to wound. Getting 2, then start chipping away on the 3-up invuln of the Neurothrope. So 1 wound goes through. That'll take him down to 5 wounds remaining. Captain shot his rifle into the warriors, but didn't get any hits. Then we will go to the charge phase, start with the captain right into the warriors. So that's going to be an automatic, but just for posterity, that's going to be an 8. And then we are not going to be charging with any other units. So we're going to go right into fight phase with the captain. Going into the fight of the captain against the 2 remaining warriors, we're going to play Reinforced Hive Node to give the Tyranid warriors -1 to damage. So it's going to slice through their armor still with the Burning Blade, but that's going to bring it down from damage 2 to damage 1. So hitting from the captain on 2s, full house of hits. And then strength 8 versus toughness 5, so needing 3s to wound. And each of these is going to go right through. Since it is AP -5, that's going to be 5 damage that goes into the warriors. 1 warrior left on 1 wound. That's going to take us into the fight phase for Tyranids. So 3 attacks from the bone swords, all gonna hit. And then wounding on 3s, re-rolling the 1 from the Prime's ability. That's gonna be 3 at -2, goes to -1. That's gonna take us up to a 4-up. Alright, and fails all 3. And that would be 6 damage, enough to take the captain out. So at this point, I'm going to have to take a reroll to try to keep him alive. And I do. So 4 damage gets through. That's going to take him down to 2 wounds remaining, but still in the fight. Now we're in turn 3 for the Tyranids, and 3 appears to be the lucky number, as that is the number of models left of the Tyranid force. The Prime back here, 1 warrior on 1 wound, and the Neurothrope over here dealing with the aggressors. So, might be a foregone conclusion, but we'll see how much work these 3 models can do. Synaptic Imperative is going to be goaded to slaughter, so we're going to try to make it into melee with as many bugs as possible. We're going to go through the usual. The Neurothrope is going to give himself the 3s to re-roll. No core units to give that +1 to hit, so that goes wasted. And the Prime is a little far away for giving out his re-rolling 1s to wound buff. That's going to take us to the movement phase. At the end of the movement phase, here's what we're looking like. The Prime is right and close to the Captain. The Prime was in synaptic link range of this remaining warrior, so I put the reroll 1s to wound on the last warrior. And the Neurothrope has floated over here, a little bit equidistant between the aggressors and intercessors, but making sure he was a little closer to the aggressors to try to finish them off with a smite. And speaking of smite, we'll go right into the psychic phase. Neurothrope's going to start with that, trying to take the aggressors out. So that's going to be 10 plus 1 innately from the Neurothrope. That's going to be 11 d6 mortal wounds to the aggressors. And that'll be 3. So, or 4, 1 down there, and then 3 mortal wounds on the final aggressor should take the squad out. So Neurothrope is able to clear out the aggressors. And with the aggressors gone, he's going to attempt to put Catalyst on himself with his 3d6. Taking a total of an 8, will get a Catalyst on himself. So it might end up being just a smite off, see how long we can keep him alive to keep popping off big smites into the intercessors. 1 unit for shooting. Prime is going to fire his Death Spitter into the 4-man intercessor squad. So hitting on 2s, mix them all, then Death Spitter, strength 5, so wounding on 3s. 3 wounds, AP2 goes to AP1, so 4 up saves. Make 1 fail 2 for the intercessors. And Death Spitter is damage 1, so that's going to be 1 more intercessor taken down for shooting. And while we're at it for the Prime, we're just going to charge right into the Captain. With a 5, we will definitely make it there. Neurothrope's also going to charge into this 5-man intercessor squad, mostly to make sure that they're shooting slightly less effective next turn, trying to continue to wipe them out. That's a 4 and a 6, so a 10 will definitely get it. So he will be able to fight through the barricade at the intercessors. Lash Whip Bone Sword Prime into the Captain, so 4 attacks, rerolling a hit roll of a 1, thanks to the Lash Whip, but rerolling a 1, and that was a 6, so that's going to be a full house of hits. Strength 7 into Toughness 4, so 3s. Just watching the last clip back, I did get 2 6s for the Goaded to Slaughter, which he definitely gets, so that's 2 extra hits. Needing 3s on these, that's 2 extra wounds into the Captain. That is a total of 5 from the Prime at -2. That's going to take him to his 4-up invuln save, and that is not going to do it. So that is going to be a Warlord off the table for the Ultramarines. And then the Prime will keep on keeping on, so that it is just the intercessors left. Speaking of intercessors, now we go to the Neurothrope, trying to tail slap the 5-man intercessor squad. Unsurprisingly, the Neurothrope did nothing with his 2 attacks. So now we've got the 5-man intercessor squad right back into the Neurothrope. So on 3s for all of these attacks, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hits. Then that's strength 4, T5, so needing 5s. Alright, only 2. 3 up invuln for the Neurothrope. Takes 1, and then a 5 up for the Catalyst. Makes it, so that is going to be nothing for the Neurothrope into the Intercessors. And that's going to be it for turn 3 for the Tyranids. So a pretty good job. 1 less Intercessor, 1 less Captain. So the number game is definitely still on the Intercessor Ultramarines advantage, but they are kind of surrounded and need to start falling back if they want to use their guns efficiently. Turn 3 for the Ultramarines, it's going to be shoot what you can kill. So 5-man squad fell back from the Neurothrope, so they're going to be -1 to hit. We're going to start on the 3-man squad who did not fall back, and they're going to try to finish off this last Tyranid warrior, try to get 1 less squad to worry about. So on 3s, half and half. Then on 5s, that is going to be 2 at -2 AP. That's going to be 6 up, so double 6 are dead. Not double 6s, so that is going to be 1 less unit that the Ultramarines have to worry about. Now the 5-man Intercessors squad, choice against the super tough Neurothrope or the super deadly Tyranid Prime. They're going to choose to try to go into the Tyranid Prime. So he's got the relic for the Tyranids, the Chameleonic Mutation, the Kraken-specific relic of -1 to be hit in shooting and no re-rolling hits in shooting for him. But as they've already got the -1 to hit from falling back, kind of overrides the usefulness of that artifact. So it's going to be 4s to hit, 5s to wound on the Tyranid Prime. So 4s gets 1, 2, 3. Then needing those 5s again to wound. That's going to be a big ol' nothing. So the 3-man squad of Intercessors are going to probably sell their lives dearly for the other squad, but they are going to try to charge over to the Prime to slow him down and hopefully start getting some good wounds off of him. So here's the charge roll with a 7. That will definitely get them in. And after the charge and pile in, this is what we look like with 3 Intercessors going into the Prime. So going on 3s to hit in melee. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now needing 5s to wound. Alright, we only got 1 3-up save. That does take a wound off the Prime at the very least. So that's going to take him down to 5. And his turn to answer back into the Ultramarines. 4 attacks on 2s, rerolling a 1. Doesn't need any of the rerolls. That's going to be strength 7, toughness 4. So 3s. That's going to be a full house. And 4 of them at -2 is going to be 5 ups. Each one of these is a dead man, and that is the squad wiped, even if we had a reroll. So, perhaps a brave but foolish decision from the Ultramarines. As we go into turn 4, we see 1 squad left of Ultramarines standing, and 2 of the leaders of the Hive fleet pincering them, perhaps to the grave. We're on turn 4, so we've gone through all of our synaptic imperatives, so we do not have that to worry about anymore. We got 3d6 psychic on the Neurothrope, and the Prime is sneaking right up behind the 5 intercessors to try to finish the job. We'll go right through command and movement into the psychic phase. Same thing from the Neurothrope. Mortal Wound Bomb into the intercessors here. Alright, so that is going to be a 7-8. That is just going to be a regular smite, thankfully. So only D3 mortal wounds. 1 mortal wound. So that'll take off 1 and only 1 intercessor. So not a bad result for Psychic. Then try to keep himself alive a little bit longer with the Catalyst. That's going to be a 10-11. So he gets Catalyst on, he'll actually put the Catalyst on the, not Warlord, the Prime, make him significantly harder to take down. Moving on to the shooting phase, Death Spitter from the Prime into the 4-man Intercessor Squad. Hitting on 2s, warning on 3s, 2 and a 3, so 1 goes through at -1, so 4 up. That does not make it. That'll be 1 damage to one of the intercessors as we go into the charge phase. Starting with the Neurothrope into the intercessors, Ultramarines are going to spend their last command point on Overwatch. So their bolt rifles with a tactical doctrine still in effect on 6s. So we've got 2 hits out of that bunch. And then needing 5s. Alright, so 1 at the 3-up invuln. And that'll take it so that we do no damage from the Neurothrope going in. So here's the charge roll for the Neurothrope. 8 inches, that makes it with room to spare. And the Prime going in, and this might be it for the Ultramarines. No command points left for the Ultramarines, and it's looking grim as we start with the Tyranid Prime attacking into the 4-man Intercessor Squad. Ooh, that is the lucky break that they needed, however. So we're going to re-roll a hit roll of 1. That's going to be 2, needing 3s to wound. Only 1, AP -2, goes down to AP -1, so 4 up, and makes it. Alright, and that might be the result that they were looking for. So now we're going to have the Neurothrope do his 2 attacks into the intercessors. 1 on strength 5, so on a 3 to wound. Makes it, but no AP, so a 3 up. And good. So they've survived the attacks of the 2 leader organisms, so now we go into the fight back from the Ultramarines. Even with Catalyst enacted, it still makes more sense for the Ultramarines to try to take out the more lethal of the 2 organisms, the Prime. So all attacks are going to go into the Tyranid Prime. On 3s, and then on 5s. Alright, so 1, 2, 3, 4 go through. And it is turn 4, so the Assault Doctrine has to be in effect. So that'll be at -1 from their base weapon, getting the -1. So 4 ups for armor. Alright, fails 3 of them, so he's not gone. But hopefully Catalyst whiffs so that we can take a chunk out of them. Then that'll be 2 wounds going through. And that'll be 3 wounds left on the Prime. And 5 wounds left on the Neurothrope, but I seem to have misplaced the die for him. So 5 wounds left. The fallback has been sounded by the last remaining squad of Ultramarines. So they have fell back mostly outside of their central bunker And at this point, it's try to kill what we can kill to make sure that we stay alive. So, nothing to do in the command or psychic phase, so right on to shooting. Bolt rifles into the prime at -1 from falling back and being Ultramarines. 3 hits, so technically enough to get them. Needing all of these to be 5s, and only getting 1 at -1, so it goes to a 4-up. Makes it, 1 goes through, and then Catalyst. Catalyst gets it. So that is going to do it for turn 4. Going into round 5. If the Ultramarines can survive this, they win. Alright, the turn's going to go rapid fire from here. 3d6 on Psychic given to the Neurothrope from the Neurothrope. Starting off with Smite. Getting a 7-8. So regular Smite, d3 mortal wounds. For 3, that's going to take 1, 2 off the field. That's going to take them a little bit further away. Then Catalyst again on a 9-10. Catalyst goes back onto the Prime. Prime fires his Death Spitter at the remaining pair of Intercessors. Hits all 3 times with a 3, a 4, and a 6. On 3s, 2. As I proceed to drop the phone, but 2 wounds go through at -1 thanks to Armor of Contempt. So 4 ups. Make 1 fail 1, so 1 is going to be down to 1 wound. Then we go to the charge from the Prime. There's no CP for the Marines to spend. 6. 6 actually is not going to do it, as the Prime has to go up and down the walls of the walls. So that is going to have to be a CP reroll. Bring us down back to 3 for the Tyranids. And a 7 does make it exactly. Alright, it is do or die. Quite literally, if the Ultramarines survive these attacks, they win. Otherwise, they have been wiped out from the attacks of the Tyranid Prime. So, 4 attacks, hitting on 2s, and rerolling a 1. Alright, rerolling a 1. Wounding on 3s. Not looking good. So at least one of these has to be, at least one of these has to be a 4-up. And that is a good swing back from the Ultramarines, though. So, only 1 goes through. Only 1 dies, leaving a single Ultramarine Intercessor Sergeant alive. So, even if he chose to pile in and attack, he would not be able to get cut down by the Tyranids before the end of the turn. So, with literally 1 model left on the table, the Ultramarines declare victory and have survived the incoming bombardment of the Tyranid Hive Fleet Kraken force, and the battle barge of the Space Marines has finally intercepted their warnings, and this lone survivor is teleported to the teleportarium aboard the flagship, perhaps of the Primarch himself, Robute Gilliman, to report on his findings and attempt to continue laying waste to the forces of the Hive Fleet. So, extremely close game. We end with 1 model for the Marines, 2 models for the Tyranids. This was after the balanced data slate, so it was definitely a close match. Probably a couple rolls there, maybe some rules misinterpretations, or missing a hit or a wound here and there from me might have been enough to swing it. But as the game turns out, A pretty good result. Couldn't get much closer than that. So, thank you everybody for watching Lojai Wargaming. Thank you very much. Make sure to hit like, subscribe, leave a comment, and I will see you on the next battlefield of the 44th millennium.